Hi everyone, welcome back for another whiskey review. Well, I've been sitting here tonight and I've invested a lot of my good time, and I just looked at my watch just before. It's gone just 2 hours of me sitting here tonight, spending a bit of time with this advent calendar, which was very graciously gifted to me all the way back in 2018 or 2019, somewhere around there. And the calendar has been sitting there patiently, waiting for me to review these lovely whiskies. And I've come to the second last whiskey. Done 10 reviews, tried 10 very, very interesting reviews, and to spend a bit of time talking at length about the Glenfiddich 15, and landed on this bad boy. And I'm going to spend an extended bit of time talking about this as well. I have reviewed it before, but Teeling Small Batch is very special to me because I think if you've been watching my content for a while, or if you follow me on Instagram or know me personally, I'm a super fan of Teeling Irish whiskies. And in fact, Teeling Irish whiskies is what actually brought me a little bit out of my comfort zone, my center of the universe, which tends to be Scotch whiskey discovery, and just helped me sort of broaden my palate a bit. I met a very interesting gentleman from Teeling Whiskey at a whiskey festival in New Zealand in 2018, and I was going to actually go to Scotland a month or 2 months later, and I said with the guy, hey, I'm going to go to Scotland, and what do you do? They do these whiskies, obviously. And he gave me a try the Teeling Small Batch, and I thought, man, this is different. Very nice, but very, very different. And it's very different to any Irish whiskey I've ever tried, which had been very young whiskies in particular. I had drunk a lot of Jamesons prior to that, and some special release Jamesons. None of them I understood. What do they mean? Green color, dark green color, red, black, whatever it was. And then he gave me a sample of this. I was like, this is very nice. And when he told me how much it retails for, I was even more surprised. And in those days, in 2018, it was only retailing for around $60. Currently, this sits around $75, $79. But I thought to myself, this is something very interesting for a cheapie. And he went on to explain, what they're doing, the history of Teeling whiskey from in the very early days, back in the day, and then obviously re-emergence of the distillery in Dublin. And having tried this sample and having tried some of the other samples that offered at this particular whiskey festival, I decided during my trip to Scotland, I'm actually going to go to Teeling in Dublin, which I think is one of the best decisions I've ever made, because it's made me fall in love with all things Teeling just so much more, to the point we ended up getting to pack my own barrel for bottling for New Zealand from Teeling, which is a whole different story, and I'll talk about it later. Back to this particular whiskey. Now, what's interesting is Teeling has been around for a while. You'll see them out there, and we have them on APM as well. These 28-year-old, 25, 30-year-old stock. But obviously the re-emergence of the distillery is from the mid-2010s, in Dublin, the restarted distillery. So a lot of this new stuff is rather young. And this one being the flagship release, the first release that did after the re-emergence, is aged in ex-bourbon casks. So a triple distilled, very light, fruity spirit, gone into an ex-bourbon cask. Very predictable result, caramel, light, fruitiness. But Teeling McTeeling, they've used an ex-rum cask and further matured the whiskey for 12 months in an ex-rum cask, which for a young whiskey is unheard of. No one really tries to do a really, really good entry-level whiskey. But this Teeling, these guys are just mad scientists. They push the boundaries, and they like to use a second barrel to try and bring something unique out of the spirit, and they do this very successfully with this. Now, over the time, I probably would have opened 15, 20 bottles of this, and I do open it repeatedly during whiskey tastings when it commands a not very expensive, but a very interesting Irish whiskey. And I always open it and it always delights people, especially if you give it as a blind sample. Because trouble is, the moment you tell people a price, they start to make their own judgment. Oh, maybe I'll like it, or I like whiskeys over $100 somehow. That magically makes them better. But every single time I've poured this whiskey into people's glass as a blind sample, they have 100% of the time really enjoyed it. I've heard nothing but outstanding comments. You know, there's comments where it's like, oh yeah, it's nice, I like it, it's refreshing, this and that. But people go, man, I cannot believe this whiskey is that cheap and that interesting. And that's the same experience that I had all the way back in 2018 when I tried it, you know, or was 2019, around that time, you know, 5-6 years ago when I first tried it. And having gone to Teeling, having fallen deeper in the lore, and having tried so many different samples. And one of the things I like about Teeling is the continual releases of new cask exploration. You know, this, I see on their website is 200 plus different casks they've used. Sorry, I digress a bit, but you know, these are stories worth telling. All right, let's start to talk a little bit about what's it like on the nose. The caramel sweetness, but in particular, and this is a funny thing. So I did say a little bit before how I've opened this bottle for whiskey tastings quite a bit. And people sitting there and go, wow, it is quite nice. It is, but it's got something in particular on the nose. I can't quite pick on it. And I'll just stand there smiling because obviously, even though it's a blind tasting, I know what it is. And I say fried bananas. And 100% of the time people go, wow, that's what I was thinking, but I wouldn't have thought to say fried bananas. And that's what I get on this. The honey sweetness is there and a little bit of caramel, but then all I get is fried bananas. And I like it. It's so sweet, so pleasant on the nose. Such a nice whiskey, especially for around $75, $79. Oh, really nice. And I forgot to mention before, it is bottled at 46% ABV, which is another thing I like about Teeling is everything is 46% or above, or at cask strength for single cask whiskies and some of the special releases, which you would have heard me say on the channel quite a bit, that I personally prefer whiskies that are non-chill filtered 46% and above. And for an entry-level dram from this particular whiskey company, that's a really, really good effort. And again, I don't really like saying names, but hey, I'll mention it for the reference now. Jameson, I've drunk so much over the years. And Jameson Black Barrel is one of my most favorite, interesting, cheap whiskies, but struggles a little, low in ABV. But this one doesn't, you know. It delivers really, really well. All right, let's try it on the palate and see what's it about. Wow. Really rich and oily and fruity. Just a tropical fruit burst, you know what I mean? I've tried it so many times, but it still brings so much joy to me. I just can't see how anyone can supply you with so much flavor, so much oiliness, so much character at that kind of price of $75, $80. I just don't understand it. And I salute Teeling for continually putting out such a fantastic whiskey out there for our enjoyment, you know. They obviously do some other really expensive releases, which again are very, very nice, but this is something very special. And I mean, for the price, there should be no excuse. If you're out there continually buying sort of the $80 to $100 Scottish 10, 12-year-old whiskies, you can try it once and see what it happens. And a lot of your friends out there who might be set in their ways and go, I only drink single malt Scotch whiskies. Well, give that as a blind sample, as I have been for the last 4 or 5 years, and continually been surprising and delighting people. That could be you. You could do that. Get a bottle and try it with some friends. Do it as a blind sample and see what happens. I think you'll get nothing but positive feedback about this particular whiskey. Really, really remarkable. For well under $100, this is really, really good. And if you're lucky, you'll see any number of gift packs out there of this particular whiskey as well. You get some really nice glasses with it as well. And if I recall correctly, when I did do the review of this in the past for this channel, I did have one of the glasses in there, which I don't have right now. I only have my Denver Lighting glass. But definitely worth getting the glasses as well while they're lasting around. Really, really nice. Really, really just, I mean, such a simple entry-level whiskey has just created such a charm in my head for Teeling, and it's been an amazing journey. And hopefully you'll watch some of the other reviews of Teeling whiskeys I've done, including the single cask that I personally picked, which in fact was a 17-year-old single cask Teeling, bottles only for the museum market. But you know, you can watch that video another day. But yeah, get a bottle of this whiskey if you haven't already, and try it and share it with some friends, see what they think about it. Well, that's all I've got to say about this particular whiskey. But I do want to say this box has served me a very good purpose. There's only one whiskey left in it. You'll have to watch the next reviews to find out what it was. But that's all I've got to say about this whiskey. If you're liking the content, please like, share, subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you in the very near future for another whiskey review. See you later. Bye-bye.